Well, that didn't last any time at all. I just made a video on the change being made at the Piaco International Airport, where the domestic lounge was supposed to be moved from downstairs to upstairs, sharing the international gates. However, that was supposed to be starting yesterday, 24th April, but also yesterday, 24th April, the decision was made to basically put that idea on hold. And funny enough, I actually filmed that video twice, because the first time I filmed it, I did it and I gave my biased opinion. Then I decided, no, I'll be neutral, just share the information that they gave. However, when I saw it, I just thought it was ridiculous. Just my opinion. But I'm interested to know if they actually tried it to see how it would work and decided it wouldn't work, or if they even did it. Because in my mind, I was just thinking about the current layout that they have and how would they implement the domestic lounge, because again, they only have 2 security machines. They basically have 2 lanes, and how the airport is currently set up, or how they have it currently set up, I just couldn't see how that would work. Previously, they had the different security points. So like if you were going from gates, I think it's 1 to 9, it was on this side. If it was 10 to 14, it was on the other side or something like that. And then of late, everything was just in one point, but still it just had 2 lanes. And I was just also wondering about the space to do it. And I just didn't have the vision in my head. I couldn't see it, but I was like, you know what? People don't make decisions out of the blue. They may have done some trial runs. They may have tested it to see how feasible it is. And even if you would do a soft launch, test it out on your own to see if it could work, what would happen? And then I was also thinking about the fact of having 1 security checkpoint for both domestic and international flights. And then I thought about it, and I couldn't think of one airport that I visited where they have international and domestic gates in the same area. Because usually if you have an international flight, it says international gates. There's separate gates where domestic flights come in and out, and there are separate gates where international flights come in and out. So yeah, I really didn't understand it. But I had hope. I hope that they knew what they were doing. So anyway, that is no longer. But also, as we're here, because my plan was also to make a video on these $1,000 car flights. In what world? Now, I do understand that we benefit from those flights being heavily subsidized, but it's basically like PTSC. It is a mode of transport between 2 sister isles. So therefore, residents can't be paying, or shouldn't have to be paying, $1,000 for the flight. Now, I would understand it where non-residents during these peak periods, and actually when I first saw it and they said peak periods, I thought that these peak periods would be like high season. So let's say there are a lot of tourists that come in for Christmas, or like if it's cruise ship season, people come from Trinidad and they want to go to Port of Spain, or maybe even Carnival. Like after Carnival, people want to go to Tobago, maybe also for Tobago Carnival, you know, Jazz Festival, these kind of things. This is what I was thinking when they said peak periods. I didn't realize that when they said peak periods, it would be morning and afternoon. I don't know if there are people who, well, there are, because, but not every day, but there are times where I had work and I had to go to Tobago for work. If I'm going to Tobago for work, more than likely I'm flying in the morning, depending on what I have to do, or I'm flying in the afternoon to come back. Or maybe I might fly in the afternoon one day, start my day, and then fly back in the afternoon the next day or next 2 days or something. So if I'm traveling between islands as a resident for business, you're telling me I have to pay $1,000 and a guaranteed seat? In what world? Like, I know there is the standby for Tobago where people standby for seats, but the fact that you're standing by is because there are no seats. So I don't see how, if you pay $1,000, you get a guaranteed seat. You might get a guaranteed seat on the next flight, but I don't see how you're getting a guaranteed seat unless they charter a new flight. And then if only 5 people pay $1,000, you telling me you're going to run a flight between Trinidad and Tobago for 5 people because they paid $1,000? And the point of raising the price is because the cost subsidized. Like, how is it working? I don't know if it was just them throwing out ideas to see what would catch on what people have to say, but that also didn't seem pretty thought out to me. Honestly, the only way I see it making sense is that yes, the prices stay subsidized for residents because it is basically a transport mode that you have to have for residents, which is why it's subsidized in the first place. But for non-residents, it could be unsubsidized. Just to add on the topic of the flights, like I would understand if it's a model more of like dynamic pricing, which airlines typically use. Okay, if it's a higher period, if there are more people searching for flights, the flights are going to be higher. So I do think that it should remain subsidized for residents, and for non-residents there is the dynamic pricing depending up to limits or whatever people are willing to pay. But at the same time, it can't be too expensive, because if you're telling me I'm paying $1,000 between Trinidad and Tobago, whereas on a good day I can get a flight to Barbados for $1,500, St. Lucia maybe for $1,600, like why would I go to Tobago if we want to develop tourism on the island, even for international tourists? These are the things you have to take into consideration when you're looking at pricing. If you want tourists who come to Trinidad to visit Tobago, make it interesting, because Tobago is a 25-minute flight, Barbados it's a 45-minute flight. What is an extra 20 minutes and an extra $500? We also have to be smart when it comes to this dynamic pricing. I do understand that Caribbean Airlines has to be profitable. It can't be operating in debt. It has to make its money. However, it needs to make its money also in a smart way, because trying to make money that way may lead to you losing more money. Anyway, that's the update. The Tobago Air Bridge will remain downstairs until further notice. And those $1,000 flights, just a little ramble, a little thoughts, just my humble opinion. Share your comments below. What do you think about the situation? Did you think that it made sense? And also, what do you think about these $1,000 morning and afternoon flights? Safe travels until next time.